YouTubers out there. This is Jerry at the Movies, and today we're going to review. So today we are looking at The Wolf of Wall Street, which I saw on Christmas Day, 2013. I'm going to backtrack a little bit because I want to describe a similar experience I had back in 1990 with regards to another Scorsese film, and of course that would be Goodfellas. Now, Goodfellas I saw, I don't even remember what month, but I think it was towards the tail end of 1990 or the beginning of 91. And I'm watching Goodfellas, and about two-thirds of the way through the film, a older couple sitting up about 2 or 3 rows up got up and left the theater in great haste after Samuel Jackson's character. His head is literally blown apart by Joe Pesci's gun. And I think after a while, Goodfellas, with the number of killings that occur in that film, although spaced throughout the story and the narrative when need be, that is to say, it's not gratuitous murders, but murders that fit the characters and when they committed the murders, because it's based on a true story, just like Wolf of Wall Street. It never felt gratuitous, but it probably was just a little too realistic and a little too off-putting, but hence Goodfellas was an indictment of the gangsters, not necessarily of their lifestyle, but of what it is that they did for a living, which was they robbed people, they stole from people, and they killed people, and this is what they did. So that was Henry Hill. So now there's Wolf of Wall Street, and within the first 15 minutes of the film, a few people in their mid-60s, I gather, who were sitting back a few rows, got up and left. And I thought, wow, 15 minutes into the film. Of course, Goodfellas, by the way, back when they were showing it in test screenings in Sherman Oaks, California, that opening scene where Henry Hill and De Niro's character and Joe Pesci's are in a car and they hear a bump in the trunk, and they pull over, and there's a guy who's clearly bleeding to death, and well, there's a stabbing, and then a couple of shots are fired. A lot of people had walked out. Now, this was during a test screening back then. But back to Wolf of Wall Street. The scene in question, about 15 minutes into the film, is Leo DiCaprio snorting coke from a woman's nether regions, her butt, to the rest of you. And although this is not really like watching someone get killed, it may be off-putting to some people all the same, and that's the case with Wolf of Wall Street, which, by the way, is the snappiest, funniest, sharpest, and most outrageous black comedy I've seen in many years. Now, let me be clear. I'm a huge Martin Scorsese fan. I think that this guy is the best film director working in America today. I'm not going to say of the world, the entire world, but close. That being said, this film will offend just about anybody who feels a movie needs to be clear-played in order to be accessible. There is a lot of nudity in the picture, which I'm sure many of you have heard about, and we also do mean here the male organ. Coke-snorting parties that would put Charlie Sheen to shame, flagrant sex scenes, and sometimes sex and drugs mixed together like a fine cocktail. That is just the beginning. I haven't even discussed the F word, which apparently may exceed its usage in Scorsese's own film Casino. But this is a tale of a lifestyle that befits its main protagonist, an excessive man with excess money and excess drugs who takes a nirvana state of Roman Epicureanism to a whole nother level. Now, who are we talking about here? This is Jordan Belfort. This is based on a true story, an actual stockbroker who got into Wall Street as a broker back in the 80s, 1986, finds the world of stock exchange far more glamorous than anything in Oliver Stone's Wall Street, by the way, which Gordon Gekko gets a mention because Jordan Belfort himself was inspired by Gordon Gekko. So he gets first-hand knowledge, Jordan Belfort, once he's in Wall Street, from a martini-loving, chest-thumping, coke-sniffing, smooth handler, his boss, played by Matthew McConaughey, who makes it clear that stocks mean nothing. You take the money from your client's pocket into your pocket. Then there's the market crash in 1986, and so Jordan has to find a way of continuing to play the stocks rather than working for the Wiz, a chain of stores that unfortunately is now gone. So he gets into penny stocks and finds that none of the richest 1% would ever purchase these, but he finds a way to get them to purchase them and turns everything in his favor. Now, it's not just the wealthy, he also goes after really anybody, including the other 99%, if you like. Um, now, that is his attractive quality. Jordan Belfort can get anybody to do anything that he wants them to do. He's very persuasive. He has a very, as my wife put it, a toxic charm about him. And if you've seen some interviews with the real Jordan Belfort, this is the case. And it soaks up everybody, including Donnie Azoff, played by Jonah Hill, his devoted sidekick and friend who helps sell the penny stocks to clueless investors. So the idea is that Jordan starts his own brokerage firm called Stratton Oakmont, and the lavish parties begin before we can see how they're skimming millions of dollars from these investors to fester on prostitutes, marching bands, little people tossed at targets. This is all inside the office, by the way. Helicopters on top of luxurious yachts where they really don't belong, copious amounts of cocaine and quaaludes, stacks of money strapped to Swiss women, and a lot more than you can imagine. I can't even get into all of it at this point. The critics, as you know, many of them, including some I really admire, that I think I haven't really looked at the picture the right way. David Edelstein, for one. David Denby from the New Yorker. I read all these reviews. Not Rex Reed. Rex Reed loved the film. He said it was sensational entertainment. And he's usually one of the tougher critics on Scorsese. Anyway, they've stopped on this hubris tale and mistakenly associated morality with drug taking. And that's not the case. The lack of morality is rather the victims who are being duped to support Jordan Belfort's lifestyle. Now, the best way I can really describe this is if any of you have seen The Aviator, imagine Wolf of Wall Street is The Aviator turned up to 1,111. It is gleefully and comically over the top, and you'll be laughing at all the debauchery and wasteful spending in spite of yourself. This is because the guys really do have fun. Whereas The Aviator dealt with Howard Hughes' own dilemma to buy out businesses and think big, this Jordan Belfort wants to party and is not looking for respect. And this is America, the land of opportunity, as he says, without missing a beat. And Scorsese and the writer Terence Winter, who helped to develop, or at least writes, I guess, some, if not all, of the episodes of Boardwalk Empire, lay in their judgment in not judging the characters, adding comedy to the mix so that we don't think too hard about how Jordan and his merry brand of foolhardy thieves are screwing up the wealthiest 1% and every other investor that they cold call. So everything is a game to them, and everything is sexualized. And if there's no sex, there's time for quaaludes. If there are no quaaludes, there's time for cocaine. If nothing else is available, rather than it's time to quit. But, well, as Jordan puts it, being sober is boring. Now, this is a very tempestuous world of complete avarice with no regard for the Dow Jones Stock Market Index. In fact, this film doesn't really get into the particulars of stocks or Wall Street. So it's not really as, how can I put it, it's not as detailed as, say, Oliver Stone's sequel, Wall Street Money Never Sleeps, which really dealt with some of the, in a very schematic way, almost not quite a PowerPoint presentation, but you get what I'm saying. Jordan Belfort breaks the fourth wall. He basically talks to us, telling us how he is taking this money and enjoying himself with it. That's really what it's all about. Now, he has flaws. He divorces his first wife and marries another woman just because she's sexy. Naomi, played by Margot Robbie, and names a yacht after her, actually. But is there anything more to Jordan? And apparently not. After 3 hours, you will be exasperated and exhausted by his schemes, yet you still can't wait to see what he cooks up next. That's probably becoming a minority opinion at this point, but that's how I feel about it. Others will see it differently. Now, Leonardo DiCaprio gives Jordan a likability that's very captivating, very engrossing. And I guarantee you will never have seen DiCaprio this animated or potent on screen before. I mean, he is amazing to watch in this film. Same with Jonah Hill, who is funnier and more depraved than he's ever been on screen. And I became a fan of Jonah Hill when I saw Accepted back in 2006. I thought to myself, there's something to this guy. And after doing Moneyball and several other films in between, you know, he's got it. I don't think the Academy voters will admire these two actors, their work, only because of, well, the Academy is notorious for not honoring depravity with a nomination, so I'll leave it at that. The rest of the cast is excellent. Rob Reiner is deliriously manic as Jordan's Mad Max of a father, who's confounded when anyone spends $28,000 on one dinner. And let me tell you, Occupy Wall Street protesters, whom we haven't really heard of in regards to this movie, they will find plenty to protest from this movie if they ever come out and make a statement about it. Margot Robbie is stunning in more ways than one as Jordan's second wife. Now, she feels cut out of the movie until the last third, which was a similar problem that pervaded Casino with regards to Sharon Stone as Ginger McKenna or Ginger Rosenthal. You just felt there was something, something missing. But Margot Robbie is not as strong, I think, as Sharon Stone, but she does well enough with the role, and you see what is up her sleeve towards the end of the picture. There are also some terrific turns by Joanna Lumley as Naomi's English aunt, who tells Jordan to slow down. That's the same Joanna Lumley who, for any of you have seen some episodes of Absolutely Fabulous, which is a terrific and very witty British sitcom. She's in this movie. Jean Dujardin, but I can't pronounce his name, but he was in The Artist from a couple of years back. He plays a smooth Swiss banker. Fran Lebowitz plays a judge, and in fact Scorsese made a documentary about her called Public Speaking. Kyle Chandler is the FBI agent who wants to nail Jordan, and there's even Spike Jonze, who introduces Jordan to the penny stocks. Wolf of Wall Street is loud, it's rambunctious, but it's hilarious and pulsatingly alive. I mean, it has a certain kind of energy that it just leaps off the screen. But that's my opinion. It is not for all tastes. The sexualized atmosphere will give some pause, although we still live in a world where graphic violence is tolerated but not graphic sexuality. And the film is dense with details and packed with information, but it's like a hopped-up, abrasive rock and roll documentary with an anti-hero who breaks the fourth wall, talking to us, literally, with his foul-mouthed narration and behind-the-scenes spectacle of Wall Street and brokerage firms as money-grubbing institutions. So although Wolf of Wall Street resembles Goodfellas and Casino in the excess and excessive narration, it also has its own identity. And Jordan Belfort may have regrets about this hedonistic lifestyle, judging from interviews that he's done prior to the release of this film. And but you get the impression you might want to pop one more Quaalude or have sex with one more prostitute, because you kind of wish that he could, but you hate yourself for thinking that, knowing how he's getting the money, but he has that kind of effect on you. So yeah, now apparently there have been I've been reading a lot of comments from people on IMDb about Wolf of Wall Street. A lot of negative comments. A lot of people feel this film is too over the top. Well, yes, there's a lot of nudity and a lot of sex. This is not porn, though, folks. This is not a porno. It's not even softcore porn, although it could be interpreted as such by some people, but this is not nearly on the same level. I mean, if any of you have ever seen softcore porn, give me a break. Is the film abrasive? Yes. Is it over the top? Yes. But so are the books. So is this guy's lifestyle. I mean, it's an insane lifestyle, and it's very high-pitched. But the point is, as Leo DiCaprio said, and I don't feel he had to make this statement at all because I think it's clear, the film does not condone his behavior because it's the way that he received the money. Um, he made a 50%. Uh, he made 50% off of the stocks that he sold to these investors. In other words, they were getting it for almost nothing, and he was the one making all the money. Sort of like Mitt Romney. Um, Except Mitt Romney was buying out companies, so it depends on. I think the film is meant to address who this guy is in terms of how he exploited people, and even people within his own circle. He's not necessarily a man to look up to. So just because he can have all these wild parties, and it seems like Roman times, literally in the office or the offices of Stratton Oakmont, doesn't mean that the film endorses that lifestyle. You see, that's different because by presenting it the way it was and knowing how he's getting the money, it's really an observation of that lifestyle. That's the difference. Now, that's not to say that you won't get a kick out of it, but you're still going to feel a little uncomfortable about the whole thing, and that's really what The Wolf of Wall Street is all about. Same thing with Goodfellas. I mean, Goodfellas, yeah, these guys are living high on the hog and enjoying what they have, and they have a wife and they have a mistress, and they can do whatever they want. They can get money from anywhere. They can do as many drugs as they like, but at the end of the day, look how they're getting that money. It's the same idea with Wolf of Wall Street. I'm not going to say the film's as great as Goodfellas or Casino. I guess if I'm going to grade it, I would give it an A minus. But it is a delirious movie. I mean, it's just insane, and it's insane because you have to do a double take and say, did I just see what I just saw? I mean, it's that kind of a movie. This is like almost an independent film, really, in that sense. And I was hoping it would really set the world on fire and cause a lot more commotion than it has, technically. Because the commotion seems to be more with the audiences, where it got a cinema score of C than with critics. But it's an abrasive film, and Scorsese pulls no punches. And that's what we expect, I think, from Scorsese when it comes to dealing with a hedonistic lifestyle and excess. So, a great movie, but you may not like yourself in the morning after you've seen it. But you won't stop thinking about it. And that, to me, is a mark of a great movie. So there you have it, The Wolf of Wall Street. Check it out. Do I feel it could have been trimmed from its 3 hours? Not at all. I think every scene felt like it counted. I am, of course, speaking as a Scorsese fan, but also as a critic. And listen, I think this film is on much higher ground than The Aviator, which I did like, uh, and Bringing Out the Dead, which gets better after repeated viewings. It's a very good film, but it's not a great film. This is a great film, but it's not a masterpiece. It's not a masterfully done film as much as, or as masterfully done, I should say, as Goodfellas or Casino, for example. Um, but it's every bit as good as Oliver Stone's Wall Street, I will say that. But they're two different types of films, so it's silly to compare one with the other. Um, it is what it is. It's an experience. And like all great experiences that cause a lot of commotion and anger, and the film did make me angry, but for the right reasons, it's very divisive. Either you love it or you hate it. But let me tell you, if you're a fan of Leo DiCaprio, you like Jonah Hill, if you like Martin Scorsese, if you like Matthew McConaughey, if you like Margot Robbie, check out the film. Definitely. Don't walk out after the first 15 minutes. That seems silly, but that's just me. And this is Jerry at the Movies with your host, Jerry Saravia, signing off.